both sides. So I know I'm going to have to move one over to the opposite side. Okie dokes. So what do I do first?
Subtract.
Before that,
The fractions.
the fractions go first. Exactly. Before we subtract, before we move things over, I need to get rid of my fractions because fractions are going to make life more difficult. So we always want to get rid of those first. And here I have a 6 in my denominator and a 3 in my denominator. So what do I multiply by?
6.
6.
Good. We're going to multiply by the LCM, which in this case happens to be 6. So we multiply by 6 on both sides. Okay. I'm going to split it all up so that it's very clear. I just want to make sure that everybody knows exactly what's going on. So we're doing 6 times 5 over 6 V. And if you already know how to do this, just do it yourself. Go for it. Don't wait for me. Then we have 6 times 25. I keep my symbol the same. Then I have 6 times 20. And then I have 6 times 2/3 V.
Hi, Mommy. What are you doing?
All right. Now let's go for it. So 6 times 5 over 6. What do I get?
5V.
5V. Good.
Miss, where did you get a 6 again?
So I got the 6, good question, because my denominators, I had a 6 and I had a 3. So you want to figure out what's the least common multiple, which one's the smallest number they have in common, and it's 6. So that's why I chose 6. You always want to find the least common multiple. All right, so over here I got 5V because 6 times 5 over 6, the denominators cancel. Now I have 6 times 25. What does that give me?
$150.
Good. 6 times 20.
120.
120. And then 6 times 2 over 3.
4V.
You got it, 4V. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. All right, see how now that I don't have any more fractions, I can go ahead and do everything else that I need to do. So starting with figuring out how to get all my variables to the left side, what should I move over?
The 4V.
The 4V. We're going to subtract it. Cancels out. 5 minus 4 is just 1 V. And I'll just have one more step. What's my final step?
Take out the 150.
I'm going to subtract the 150. Have I multiplied or divided by a negative number?
No.
Exactly.
Not yet.
I have not done any multiplication or division by a negative. So does my sign stay the same or flip?
Same.
They're the same.
Exactly. And what do I get when I subtract 120 minus 150?
Negative 30.
Good job. That's my answer. That's my answer. Now I'm going to graph it. So just like before, I'm going to make a number line, put a few little tick marks You don't have to do more than 5, really. And put my answer in the middle. What numbers should I put to the right?
20 and 10.
I could do 20 and 10. Yeah, let's do that. But is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative?
Negative.
Negative. And then if I'm going by tens, on the opposite side, I'm going to write
40 and 50.
negative 40. Good. Negative 50. Okay. Now I look at my symbol. My symbol is greater than or equal to. So I'm going to put a dot on my answer, which was 30. And which direction does my arrow point?
Right.
Good, to the right. And there you go. See, the graphing is really not that hard. So I kind of forgot to do it yesterday, but hopefully that's not too much more to learn today.
Is it right that it's not in equal to? Like a less than or greater than, it's an open circle?
That is correct. And that's actually what I was going to do next. So you're ahead of me.
Miss, I'm confused by like the 6 times 5.
5 over 6?
Yes.
Okay. Let me do that again. So when you have a whole number times a fraction, you multiply by the top number, and then you divide by the bottom number. So I'm doing 6 times 5. What's 6 times 5?
30.
30. And then what's 30 divided by 6?
6.
30
Wait.
divided by 6.
Five.
It's 5. So that's how I got 5 in the next step. Another way you can think about it, sometimes it's a little easier than that, because notice that the 6, I'm multiplying this fraction by 6, but I have a 6 in the denominator, right? So basically what happens is those 6's cancel out, and I'm left with 5. So anytime you're multiplying by the same number that's in the denominator, they cancel out right away. So sometimes you don't even have to go through and do all that math. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. So Juan was saying, what happens when you have something that's just greater than or just less than? So let's look at, I'm going to skip this. I'm going to find one that has, there we go. Okay. So this one is just less than, right? And this problem actually was from a test from a few years ago. So this is what it would look like on a test. You actually, it has all the graphs and you have to decide which one is the right graph. But in order to do that, we got to solve. So let's go ahead and do this one together. And then once we're done with this one, I'm going to give you guys some problems to do on your own. Okay. All right, this one has no fractions, so that's nice, but it does have a parentheses. So what should I do first?
Distribute property.
Good, we're going to distribute. And what does that give me?
3x and negative 15.
Good, 3x and then negative 15, or 3x minus 15. My sign stays the same, and everything here stays the same. Step 2.
Subtract.
Subtract what?
5x.
Good. Minus 5x, minus 5x. Three minus 5.
Negative 2x.
Good. Perfect. 2 more steps. What's step 3?
You got
Teacher, I'm gonna add 15.
Add 15.
Good. Add 15. 7 plus 15.
22.
22. And finally,
divide.
I divide. And what happens here?
The sign will flip.
The sign will flip because I'm dividing by what?
A negative number.
A negative number. So again,
Negative
anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, that's the most important thing too. It's only if it happens on both sides, your sign is going to flip. So I go from being less than to being greater than. So I got x is greater than what?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. Exactly.
It's D.
Good. And so we see that, look at all these graphs, they all have not a closed circle, but they all have an open circle. And that's because my sign is a greater than sign, not greater than or equal to. If it had the bar underneath it, if it was greater than or equal to, all of these would be closed dots. But since I have just greater than, they're going to be open dots. So that's the other thing that you have to keep in mind when you're graphing. They're going to be open dots, and it should be, the dot should be over the negative 11. So just like David said, D is my answer. So do I have any questions so far before I ask you guys to try it on your own?
Miss, can you explain again, like, why a sign flips?
Sure, definitely. So the reason our sign is going to flip is because whenever you're multiplying by a negative number or dividing by a negative number, notice I went from a positive 22, and then when I divided by that negative, I got negative 11, right? So it changes the sign of your answer, and whenever that happens, you also have to change the direction of the symbol. It's kind of like just one of those things that's just like a mathematical rule. That's just what happens. So that's all you have to be very careful with. And when you're solving these problems, just keep track. Like, am I multiplying by a negative number? Am I dividing by a negative number? And just make sure you're keeping track of the direction of your symbol.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Alrighty. So I'm going to give you guys a few problems to work on, kind of like the other day, except for this, what I want to do, there's 18 of you. I'm actually going to put all 18. You are all going to go to your own room, your own separate room. The reason is when you're in those rooms, you can call for help. So there's a little button that allows you to call for help. So this is kind of like if I was in a real classroom, this would be like independent work. And then you could raise your hand and call me over if you need help. So I want to do this because I just want to see like how each of you guys is doing. And, you know, some of you are very far ahead. Some of you are still struggling with solving equations. So I just want to make sure that I'm helping you guys out however you need. So we're going to actually ignore some of these directions, but you're going to be in a breakout room alone by yourself. You're just going to work on the problems. And then I'll come into your rooms to see how you're doing. So I'm going to come to each and every one of you and try and see what you personally are struggling with. So this is an opportunity to talk to me without anybody else in the room. We can have a private conversation. And if you're having any issues with anything, I can try and help you out. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share with everybody the document where all of the questions are. So just give me a second and I'll share it. And we already did question number, I think it was question number 5 from this document. Question number 4. So we already did question number 4, but you'll be able to try all of the other ones. And then when we come back together, we will be able to go over all the answers. Okay, so go to the chat, click on this link, and you'll be able to see all the problems. So keep that page open when you're working on your own. Does anybody want me to share my screen so that you can take a picture of them? Okay. I'm actually going to share my screen anyway because I want to make sure we all see the same thing. So like I said, we just did number 4 together, but all the other ones, I want you guys to try it by yourselves when you're in your room. And then I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes coming to each room, and we'll talk not just about this, but I want to make sure everybody feels good about your homework assignments, your quizzes, your iReady scores, anything else you want to talk to me about, we can talk together. So do I have any questions before I send you guys to your rooms?
Mm.
Okay, make sure you've clicked on the link before I send you, because otherwise you won't be able to click on it again. And all of this you're just doing in your notebooks, okay? So okay, all right. I'll see you guys in your rooms in just a minute. Okay. Number 2. Look through it. Let me know if anyone has any quick questions. Take a picture if you would like to, because it's always good to go back and study it. All right. Number 3. Answer choice was A. I did not get a chance to write it all out, so let me do that real quick. Step 1, I add 5. So I get 2c greater than or equal to 8. And then I divide by 2. So this one was kind of easier because it was just a 2-step equation. Just make sure that you're picking the correct graph. Since I have a greater than or equal to symbol, my arrow has to point to the right. So it's always just make sure that the point is on the right point and the arrow is in the right direction. Any questions on this one? All right.
No.
Number 4 we already did together, but just one more look at it. It was x is greater than -11. If you want to take a picture, take a picture. Number 5, I got x is greater than or equal to 6. Do I have any questions on this one? Okay. And then the last one, x is less than 25. And this one had a flip. So for this one, in the last step, I had to divide by -1, which made my sign flip. Any questions on this last one? Awesome. Give me a thumbs up if you got all of them right. I see 2 thumbs up. Good. Give me a thumbs up if you got 5 of them right. So if you had 1 wrong, just 1. Just 1 wrong. Good. Thumbs up if you only had 2 wrong. Nice. All right. So if you got 0 wrong, 1 wrong, or 2 wrong, that means you're doing really well. If you got more than 2 wrong, make sure that tonight when you're working on your homework, you can always go back to this problem, to the video that I'm putting up on YouTube. You can always go back, look at it, make sure you understand how to do each step, and just practice. You got to practice, you got to study. So as usual, tomorrow's Friday, so we're going to have a quiz, and this is definitely going to be on that quiz. So just make sure that you're taking, your time and you're studying and practicing all of this. Any
Yeah.
last?
You didn't add me to Khan Academy, and Khan Academy says I don't have no assignments for you.
Really?
Yeah.
And you joined the class?
Yes.
Okay, you have are you on Remind yet? Or do you have my Google phone number?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna share that with you. Actually, I'm gonna put it in the chat. This is for everybody. If you need to reach me, this is my Google phone number. It's 786-471-6760. I put it in the chat. So Bianca, text me so that I can message you privately and we can figure it out, okay? And that for everybody, if you ever have a question, you can always text me and let me know.